Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to the Dune spoiler review. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and today I'm joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie,
Hello, everyone.
Richard Bailey Jr.,
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Joey Polanco,
What's up, everyone?
and joining me from Throwdown, we got Chris Seeley
Hey, what's up, everyone?
and Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
All right, yo, we're not going to waste any time because we don't want to be here as long as the actual movie was. So let's get into it, man. Dune, the long-awaited Dune. I believe this movie was supposed to be out last year, right? Like, it got delayed because of the Rona and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I think literally a year ago, like at this time, it was supposed to drop, you know? But thankfully it's here, and we have thoughts. So as we usually do here, we're going to give you just our quick little, like, thoughts on the movie, and then we get into the deep stuff, right? So I thought the movie was fucking incredible. It was great, you know, because here's the thing. Usually adaptations could be so wishy-washy where the director's like, oh, I'm going to do my own take on it and just messes it up. You know, you've seen that all the time, especially this year with some of these like novels that have been adapted. Wheel of Time got fucked up. They fucked up Why the Last Man. I hear Foundation's kind of blah, you know, but this one, like, you know, we're going to get into it, but I'm like, this is like, there's some things that are cut, but I'm like, this is straight up the book. This is fantastic. That's what I personally want from adaptations. Be true to the source material. Don't fuck things up. So I thought the movie was great. Obviously, the cinematography was incredible. The only complaint I have to do with this movie was, and I'm pretty sure Joey's going to agree with me, is that it ended. I wanted more, you know? No, but it was just brilliant. So I'm glad it lived up to my expectations because it was my most hype of the movie, most hype movie of the year after King Kong, which was also good. King Kong vs. Godzilla, you know? But yeah, it was great. Dana, what'd you think of Dune? Quick thoughts.
The quickest thought was, my God, time is going really slow. So other than that, it was one of those things where I was incredibly mad at myself because this is a movie, and this is weird for me to even admit because I'm cheap and I don't believe in like paying to go see movies. This was a movie that you had to sit and watch in the theater because my little old TV is not big enough to see all of the great spectacularness that is sand. And I wanted to experience everything in that good sound quality with the biggest screen possible because they really took time and care for the cinematography. They really paid attention. As you were saying, I read the book when I was in 6th grade. I was tormented by it, but I read it and it was they did the greatest, don't say the greatest, but they did the closest adaptation to that book that I think you can get.
Agreed.
So I think that it was very faithful to the source material. The cinematography, please give it all the technical awards that is out there in the technicalities. But it was very, very long. And because of there being less action and kind of more talking, it downgraded, for me, the viewing experience of what it kind of could be if you took out a lot of some of the parts. There was a lot of walking. There was a lot of political things, and it kind of reminded me, which I know this came before Star Wars, and it really was like, wow, George Lucas is just not original. He basically stole the whole foundation of what is Dune to create Star Wars and just changed around some names. We have scenes that are literally, you could say, carbon copies of what their version of the Force is. So, yeah, other than that, it was just a little too long. And I did not like that it ended so abruptly, right when things were going to happen. We knew, because if you read books, you knew that they can't adapt the whole thing in one sitting. But I wanted more. So that was a good thing as well.
Yeah. All right, Rich, quick thoughts.
Quick thoughts. So I am one individual that did not get a chance to read the book, did not get a chance to see the older movie. So I will say that this made me want to go back because I want to fully understand why this movie is being praised heavily for the material, the story, everything else. I will say visually, it looked fantastic. And I agree with what Dana said. This is a movie that you need to see in the theater. You can watch it in HBO Max. If you have a 4K TV, 65 to 75 inches, okay, and you have a surround sound, then that's fine. Or even a projector, like our good friend Joey. then that's great. But if not, you need to watch this in the theater because visually, the sound, everything is just it will pop a lot more if you actually see it in theater. Now, in terms of, like I said, the source material, I don't really know if I can say that I would say this reminds me of Star Wars yet, because I haven't read the whole story. I don't know what happens in Dune 2 and 3, so it's hard for me to really say. What I could say so far, though, I thought the acting was great. When it was action, the fight choreography was great. That was good. The only thing is, like I said, the story, I was not really that into the story. That's why I said, now I understand they were setting stuff up in this movie here, so I assume it's going to get even better and better. But it kind of felt bad to see Zendaya's character, the flashbacks, the entire movie. You don't see her until the very end. So I agree with what Tony said. It sucks that it ended right there. But obviously it's going to get a 2 and 3, so we'll see where it goes from here. But I thought it was a good movie. Do I think it is a must-see sci-fi movie? I don't know about that because I've seen a lot of sci-fi movies. I don't know. I wouldn't tell someone if they're going to see it, then I would say, yeah, you should see it in the theater. Do I think it is essential movies that you need to watch if you've seen a whole bunch of sci-fi movies? I would say you need to think about that because it's just there's so many movies that I've seen. There's TV series as well, science fiction. So maybe I'm a little fatigued with stuff with people visiting planets and meeting aliens and all this stuff. So maybe I'm a little fatigued to a degree, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It just means that I still need to see what happens in the next 2 movies before I say this is a phenomenal franchise. But yeah, it did make me want to read the source material. It did make me want to find out what happens in the next 2 movies. So I give them credit for that 100%.
You're Rich.
Yeah.
Why didn't you preface this conversation when saying you were going to be controversial?
Oh, well, I wanted to, I don't think it's a controversial opinion. I know there are some people that said they hate this movie online.
Whoa.
And I wouldn't go that far. I don't hate the movie. I just think I need to see a little bit more. But I will say this, and this is controversial.
Here we go. Let's go.
I'm not really a huge fan of this actor that they have playing the main character.
Oh, interesting.
And every time I saw scenes with him and Zendaya, I thought to myself, there's somewhere Tom Holland is a little annoyed that his girlfriend is messing around with this guy. Yes, they're acting in a movie, but if you're going to see your woman kissing somebody else, like, oh, okay, I don't want to see that, Zendaya. Let's just go out on a date or something. I kind of had a feeling of that. Maybe the actor needs to grow on me a little bit more. But yeah, the cast in and of itself was great. Oscar Isaacs was great. Everyone else in the movie was great. So I don't have any issues with that. Of course, I wanted to see more of Dave Bautista. I assume we're going to see more of him in the next 2 movies because we didn't really hardly see him that much in this movie. But yeah, overall, it still was a good movie in my opinion. I'm not saying it was bad, and it looked phenomenal. It looked fantastic. The music, the sound, the language, all of that stuff was fantastic. So yeah, very good movie.
All right, Joey, man, what's up? Quick thoughts.
What's up? So I'm going to start by saying I loved it. It's a great movie. This is actually his second adaptation of a book. He did Arrival before, which I also loved. My only thing was I was nervous the entire 3 or 4 years this thing got announced because the source material, like, it's so ambitious. This is not a small project. And it's also a source like that many people don't know anything about. So I knew going in that this movie would not be top action left and right. You would have to have a setup. So I was perfectly on board with this. My only thing was I was a little nervous when I saw the marketing for the movie because all they were showing were action. So once I saw that, I was like, I know many people are going to hate this movie simply because the lack of action. But no, overall, I fully enjoyed that. As soon as it was done, I'm like, I hope it gets greenlit right now. Right this second. Continue it right now. The deeper thoughts and stuff like that, I'll get into it in a bit. But that was just my initial reactions. I loved it. I'm a big fan of this director, so I'm down.
Yeah. Chris, quick thoughts.
All right. I'll just say that I thought the
Mm-mm.
movie was a little too long. It felt like walking through a beautiful art gallery very, very slowly behind old people. We have to wait till stuff happens. And like, can I get to the next picture? This picture is lovely. I'd like to see the next one, please. And while I was impressed by the effects. I was impressed how they did those kind of grasshopper helicopter things that they have, the dragonfly ships they had flying around, the drop ships, the shield effects around people, like all that stuff was lovely. Like the sets were lovely. Everything is very pretty and it's very quiet. Nobody's saying or doing much, but everything was very pretty. And that was my problem with the movie. It's like I'm looking at beautiful things that are very quiet and there's nothing happening. And then when stuff happens, it's like, okay, some stuff happened, and now we're walking. We're walking again. We're walking to the next beautiful set piece. So there was a lot of that in the movie. And I wouldn't say I didn't like it because like the characters were well done. And I'll tell you the history. I only know the 1984 movie and the old Westwood Studios game from 1992. That's
Oh yeah.
all I know of Dune. I didn't read the book. So I'm like, oh, Bautista Sting's character, and
Yeah.
I remember Kyle MacLachlan playing Paul Atreides, and the same thing, sticking his hand in the box and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, this one was way better, was way more fleshed out. You kind of understood what was happening, and I did like the politics stuff because it like set up the Atreides to go to Arrakis and all that. Okay, that was well done, but I was like, to have this whole story is going to be like, I don't know, 6 hours when it's finally done, right? More stuff needed to happen to hold you, and I just feel like it wasn't paced right. Like when I mean, we'll elaborate later, but it wasn't. I felt it wasn't paced right. It just felt like walking through a beautiful art gallery very, very slowly, and then you get to the end, and it's like, my eyes are refreshed, but I don't know how I feel.
All right. Carlos.
So I'm wondering if I'm the tiebreaker,
Oh.
where I'm gonna go, because there's like here's what I'm gauging from everyone here in this room. Tony and Joey loved it. Chris and Rich are mixed. Dana is kind of meh, and then there's me.
Oh.
No, Rich enjoyed it.
No,
Well, he's
I
like
still,
a tweener.
I still think it's good. I'm not going to be one of those people that say it's bad. It's not a bad movie.
No, it's not. It's not a bad movie.
Yeah, it's
I
not bad.
agree.
No. Mm-mm. Go ahead, Carlos.
So here's my history with it. I've never seen the David Lynch adaptation. I haven't played any of the games. I haven't read the novel or any of that. I was gonna read it, but then I'm like, nah, I should just wait for the movie and then see if that can spark plug my interest in reading it. I'm a huge fan of Denis Villeneuve. I think he's probably one of the like 2 or 3 best directors of this century.
Oh yeah.
Along with Nolan. Sicario, Arrival, Prisoners, Blade Runner 2049 are some of the best movies that's come out this like past decade. My biggest concern about this going into this movie is, and it has to do with anything Denis has done more recently, is it going to sell tickets? Because he has this amount of quality that he puts into movies and people love. The people who review this movie, the critics, they absolutely love his films. But I feel, and I guess it's the biggest issue with this movie, is I feel like this movie is not going to be obtainable to the mass audience. It's just it doesn't really cater to them. It's not a movie to me. It's more, well, it is a movie, but it doesn't follow the same tropes as most blockbuster sci-fi movies. It's more of a freaking insanely produced TV show, and this is the prologue. I feel, I'll just go into what my thoughts are. I actually love this movie. It's amazingly done. It's amazingly directed. The cinematography is amazing. I was like, this sounds familiar. Oh yeah, it's fucking Hans Zimmer, of course. It's like, yeah, this sounds familiar. So I am privileged enough to watch this in a 4K, in a 65-inch 4K with surround sound.
My
So
TV?
on my TV. I understand that this needs to be seen in the theater, but I didn't get the issues that, you know, if it was lesser quality, then I would understand some of the issues with it. But overall, I feel like this movie does a great job of world building and introducing certain worlds where people, it's like it's more of an immersive experience, instead of going from, you know, the standard blockbuster movie, which, like, let's go from this point to this point to this point and the conclusion here. This is kind of not like that. It's more of like a traversal of the world. Like it some parts actually don't make sense, because they're kind of obfuscated in the way that the narrative is trying to make it seem. But I still really enjoyed it. I did need to put subtitles in because a lot of those names, you know, I just, you know, Fremens, like when they first said it, I'm like, I kept forgetting what the name is, or the last name of, you know, I'm glad that the names are easy, like Paul and Duncan. I'm like, all right, I remember those, but the last names and the other people. So yeah, overall, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I felt like it's the biggest issues with the movie that it won't cater to the most amount of people. I also felt that the ending was kind of abrupt. Even though you understand why it ended there, it's still, you know, it's not as satisfying of an ending as, you know, some of the great sci-fi epics have done in the past. But we'll delve deep into that later on. But yeah, overall thoughts, great movie.
Yeah, go ahead, Rich. By the way, I may change the structure of this of this conversation, because usually we would go into the story a little bit, but I'm like, I kind of want to jump on what something Carlos just said. But Rich, you first, man.
Well, you actually, yeah, I do also want to jump into what he said about thinking that the movie may not sell well. I think that's a valid concern, but I would also say, because we have been in the pandemic for a year, and the fact that this is one of the major movies. Yeah, we had a few movies that came out in the theaters that were considered pretty big, you know, the James Bond movie, etc. I think this is definitely going to do well at the box office. It is going to definitely be number one this weekend, at least. But we'll see. But I think that's a good. I'm curious to know what everyone thinks about that. But continue. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, couple of things. First, I'm going to go off what you said. The movie actually has already been a hit internationally. Like, it's already made over $130 million, which I'm like, okay, this is just internationally without the two biggest markets, America and China. So I think this thing's going to be a smash hit regardless. You know, and I guess, yeah, we could do a little bit more of a free form chat here, because there is a lot of things that happen, but I do want to jump on with Carlos. Actually, Carlos, so I'm guessing Denis, he's still your boy, right? He hasn't lost anything, right? This movie didn't hamper him.
Him and Christopher Nolan are still solidified as my number one and my number two so far.
Yeah, I'm going to say this right, because this is only my second Denis movie, but I'm like, yeah, this dude, upper echelon, man. Because the first one I saw was yeah, because the first one I saw from him was the Blade Runner. I'm like, this is fucking awesome, you know. But that was another, you know me, I like action, right? But the way he films his movies, you're so into it. Like, to me, when Dune was over, I'm like, I felt like 30 minutes passed. I was so engrossed in it that, like, time just had no meaning. And now, to get to Carlos's point, that's what I really like about this movie. I haven't seen a movie, you know, a big AAA sci-fi movie like this in a long time that didn't have any of the usual tropes. There's no 15 minute, like, exposed every 15 minutes. There's not the usual, like, narrative structure. It was very different. It was very refreshing. And I don't even want to say, like, oh, this movie is harkening back to the old days. No, this doesn't even feel like that. It feels very timeless to me. Like, you are just in there. I mean, I guess in a way it does make you feel like when you're watching the first two Star Wars movies, where it's like you're not watching a movie, you are in a world. Or when you're watching the Lord of the Rings films, you're not in a film world, you are in an actual other world. So, you know, this movie just was so captivating on that level, you know. And Rich, to your thing about the general audiences, I think that could be a problem, because, again, this doesn't have the tropes. Does it have, you know, the usual type of characters and stuff, right? But, you know, I think some people will find it very refreshing. And I think the fact that you can watch it at home is also a benefit to it. And I know Warner Brothers, they're gonna it is Warner Brothers, right? Like
Yes.
they said they're gonna gauge it not only on ticket sales but also on like subscription watches. Like, yo, I made sure I let this motherfucker run all the way to the end. I passed the credits. I'm like, I want you to know I saw every millisecond of this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not because my thing is, oh, Rich, one thing, trilogy. This is what's gonna happen. So this is the first part of the first half of the book, right? So the next movie will be finishing off the first book, and then the third movie, if Denis makes it, will be the sequel, the Dune Messiah. Which is a shorter story, so you could contain it in a single film. I don't know what's going to happen after that. I do need to give a quick shout out to another YouTuber, Quinn's Ideas. He was talking about how like he would love it if like other directors possibly did, carried on the other Dune movies. Like he was like, you imagine Christopher Nolan doing God Emperor Dune, which is like apparently like the upper echelon. Like that would be fucking crazy, So I wouldn't be against that. But Denise has said, yo, I want to do at least these 3 movies, so hopefully that'll happen because it would be such a. I think Warner Brothers is they're gonna green light the next one. I think that's guaranteed. I'm Joey. I feel your trepidation, bro, but all signs point to that. So because it would be such a crime if we only get half this movie and then that's it. That would be shameful to me.
The thing that felt weird to me was right when the movie was over, I was thinking to myself like, why would you make a movie without greenlighting the sequel? Why didn't you have this planned out?
Yeah, because Dane, I'll let you go next because I'm like, because typically what you would do is like you just film both movies and that's it, you know. Because if this movie gets green, let's just say because Hollywood, unlike games, they move fast, right? If this thing's successful over the weekend, they will be greenlit. Let's go. It's gonna be another 2 years, right? So the characters,
that's what.
I'm granted in the book itself. A couple of years will pass. There will be a time jump, so them aging up will be okay. But for audiences, I'm like, it would have been dope to get this shit next year, So that's going to be a little frustrating. I wasn't as upset with the ending. I thought it was going to be worse. The way people made it out seem like, oh fuck, this movie's over. But this movie had a very like Fellowship of the Ring ending where it's like, all right, we're going off and you see the vast distance, like, okay, giving you that feeling of like there's more to come, get ready, we did this part, now we're going to the next level. So I wasn't as upset about it, but obviously I could have sat and watched this for another 2.5 hours. Like it was so good. Dana, let Dana go first and then you go next.
Just to tag team some information in there, speaking with the cast, what happened with Warner Brothers is Dune does not have a great track record of success.
Yes.
And Warner Brothers is utterly terrified of this movie failing. Don't care, like, Denis Villeneuve, yay, but it could still fail. And as you guys gave the bullet points as to why. As you stated earlier, so far, international is 131 million. Domestic right now is at 39.1. The total budget for this first movie was 165. So they're in the right track of getting greenlit. Denis Villeneuve was also frustrated that he just couldn't do the whole thing and call it a day. However, Warner Brothers did this. We do know it's going to get greenlit because so far, yay. They have announced that we're getting a TV series that will also be directed by Denis Villeneuve. The TV series is called Dune: The Sisterhood, which will focus on the Bene Gesserit. Gesserit. So it's going to focus on them and all the women that possess all of the kinetic powers. So we're getting that as well. And so this was a way, not to say appease, that's a bad word, but to also want to keep Denis Villeneuve happy. Remember, there was a whole situation with HBO Max announcing the same day the date release with the whole situation. And
he was not not happy about that. Yeah.
And remember, like Nolan was like, "Peace out. I'm now directing for Timbuktu's international service."
And I'm glad you brought that up because I'm Joey. I'm speaking for you too in this one. As frustrating as it is that this movie wasn't filmed back to back, I understand why they didn't because of the David Lynch movie bombed. It was one of the biggest bombs of all time. And I know the sci-fi series did better, right? It was actually all those are still the highest rated sci-fi shows, right? but
Yeah.
you know, they're really basing this off a Lynch film. You know, by the way, I should say this: I tried to watch that film many times throughout my life. I'm like, what the fuck is this
Yeah.
shit?
It doesn't
Well,
hold
he,
up at all.
Yeah.
fun fact: he was so embarrassed by it, he took his name off of it.
Yeah,
It says
he's
directed by
like,
Alan Smithy on there.
yeah, he said, "Fuck this shit." I do hear the sci-fi channel ones are good, just cheap looking. You know, that's the
Yeah.
only thing they look budget
With
but they're
James
true to
McAvoy.
the source material. Yeah, with James McAvoy, he's I
Paul.
can't say who he is. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, very interesting.
Okay.
Anyway, so let's pull it back to this movie. So yeah, the main story is we have House Atreides, right? They get given governance over planet Arrakis, which is Dune, right? You know, the Emperor of, I guess he's just called the Emperor. He doesn't really have, I mean, he does have a name, but let's just call him the Emperor just to keep it simple. Because yes, this movie does have a lot of crazy ass terms and stuff. You know, House. I'm gonna probably just keep saying Harkonnen. I know in the movie they say Harkonnen, but I read it as Harkonnen. So forgive me. I'm just gonna call it Harkonnen.
It's funny because the old movie too. That's how they pronounced it.
Harkonnen, yeah. So and again, I just read as Harkonnen. So forgive me, I will say Harkonnen, right? So how's Harkonnen? They've been in charge of Arrakis for whoever knows how long. They suddenly get taken off of there, get House Atreides in there, take over. Now, House Harkonnen, you know, they're brutal as fuck to the Fremen, especially, right? So, you know, we have Atreides going in there. They're very different. They were like, we want to actually ally with the Freemen and use the desert power, you know. The movie doesn't get too deep into this, but Leto, right? He has a power play as well. He's like, yo, let's use the Freemen to kick these motherfuckers out, you know, the Emperor specifically, you know. Movie didn't get too deep into that. So yeah, we get House Atreides to go in there and shit goes down. You eventually find out, oh, this is plot from the Emperor, because you know, basically House Atreides was becoming so powerful, Emperor feared them, you know, arising, but they couldn't attack Kaladin, which is their homeworld, because it was too well defended. So get them on Dune and fuck them up, you know. So that's like kind of the main overarching thing. But then we have the whole thing with Paul Atreides, because his mother Jessica, and I wish the movie would have delved deeper into this. She went against the sisterhood, which they wanted her to do, was to have a daughter, right? So the daughter could marry a Harkonnen and unite everything. But she's like, she wanted to, because she actually because a lot of the houses, they're giving Bene Gesserit women, you know, to, you know, spawn children and stuff. But she actually loved Leto, so it's like he wanted a son, so she gave him a son. So in a interesting way, she's actually the one that sparks all of this shit, just because of that one decision, you know. But
I have a question.
Go ahead, bro.
Why are the Harkonnens so important to the Empire, or so?
Oh, why are they opponent? It's more like that the Harkonnens, they side with the Emperor. I believe there's some kind of familial linking behind the scenes. So they're like, okay, we'd rather deal with these guys, you know, because they're not going to try to usurp us. Like the Vladimir, the Baron, he just wants Dune. He doesn't really care about the rest of the Empire. While Leto, he was like, okay, we got to take this Emperor out. You know, granted, even the book didn't delve too deep into that, like, because I'm like, that's my Game of Thrones mind thinking right now. Like, okay, we need to have all this shit going on, you know. So with Paul, he has Bene Gesserit powers, Bene Gesserit training. So, you know, as you know, we'll delve into, he sees, and I thought the movie did this so well, like possible futures. He's not just seeing a fixed future, he's seeing different iterations of it and stuff. And you know, he comes to and all that. But with the Bene Gesserit, very, very scheming women, you know, because they've planted this idea of the Messiah on planet Arrakis for centuries. So by the time Paul and his mother come up, they're like, oh shit, that's him, that's the guy. You know. So I thought that was very well done. And then obviously by the end of the movie, we see the machinations of the Harkonnens and the Emperor come to fruition, but also we start seeing Paul's power come to be. So we could talk about that. We already kind of delved into it, but yeah, just the actual storytelling. I'll go first. You know, and again, I know I'm a little biased here because of the book. My only problem with the story was I do feel it was rushed. There were so many little things that were in the book that weren't in here that I think would have fleshed it out. Like, for example, like in this movie, and it was done well, don't get me wrong. Like, as soon as they got to Arrakis, it feels like they're in constant danger. You know, the book, they kind of let them settle in. Everything was chilling and shit. They're trying to piece things together because the Harkonnens, they did leave them some fucked up equipment, you know. But in this movie, it just kind of ran through. There were also supposed to be other families, you know, like other like nobility that were already on Arrakis and stuff. So you see, they're kind of political scheming. None of that's in there. But overall, I thought for the and I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this. For especially the guys who've never even seen any of these adaptations, like, did you feel that the story was well paced? Did you understand it? Because the source material in the David Lynch one too, it's like it's known for being very confusing. So did you guys feel that way, that this movie was like too unattainable, or did you understand at least the basics of it? That's like, hey, the Emperor and House Harkonnen, they want to destroy the Atreides. Paul has powers. That's like the basic shit. Did you guys understand that part?
Yeah, I felt for me it was pretty understandable. The only thing that was kind of confusing was just fixing the names with the people or the races. Is like, okay, so which ones are the Harkonnens? Are they the bald looking people? Are they the this looking people? So it's like, yeah. So it's like, and Jason Momoa, he's like, what is he? He looks different than fucking everyone else. So now he's just a brolic dude that is part of this kingdom. Okay. Yeah. So and the Freemans, or the, what is it? Fremen?
Yeah,
Fremens.
Yeah.
Yeah. The like, just getting the names situated to the different people and what circumstances they're coming from. That was the hardest part. But as far as, understanding that, these people were leaving because they were fighting, they had a lot of conflict with these people and then, they're shipping them out, and then the other people were coming in, like those kinds of stuff made pretty good sense. I will say I was kind of shocked because obviously I didn't read the source material. I'm like, oh, when the lady, tells Paul to come to him, I'm like, what's going on here? is this some Jedi mind tricks, or what's going on? As a shout out to Dana, because she mentioned the whole, the connections between Star Wars and Dune. It's like, that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah. I'll tell you what that is exactly. Basically, you know how if you understand someone, like truly understand someone, I'm talking about real life. I'm not talking about science fiction or any of that. If you understand someone really well, right? If you say, you can say certain things to them and they will act, on a certain way. That's the basic idea of the Bene Gesserit voice, where they say something in a very specific way, from their understanding of the person, they could get them to act how they want. Obviously, it's like overblown or whatever, but like, for example, if I bring up, if I say, oh, Ubisoft sucks, Adam's going to react a certain way. You know what I'm saying? So it's that basic idea. Or if you tell me, Tony, I love pineapple on pizza, I will react a certain way. So it's not really so it is a form of mind control, but it isn't. So it's not as supernatural. Yeah, but Dana, you know exactly where George Lucas got that too. Let's just be real here.
Because this ain't original at all. This was heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, it was funny because I read the book over the summer. I'm reading like, damn, George Lucas, bro, you stole so much shit for this. The fucking worms, the whole the chosen one, like, oh, you're like, damn,
the Jabba the Hutt thing, basically.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
The sand, it gets everywhere.
Yeah, it gets everywhere. But yeah, just jump in with your thoughts on go ahead, bro.
In terms of the storytelling, like you were saying, I'm a bit biased as well, on the same boat as you, because I'm not a newcomer, but I was nervous for the opening of this movie, and I'm still nervous. But once they got to the Gam Jabbar test, that scene, I was just like, I'm good. I'm good. We're going out of
I was worried about that too,
Yeah. So once that door opened, I saw, oh my God, I saw the set. I was just like, I'm good. We're good from here. Just keep going.
Yeah. I want to just jump in on that. I'm glad that scene is in there because that scene is also in the David Lynch movie, so you could compare and contrast how they do things. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That was a great scene. It's like, are you going to react like an animal or are you going to react like a human? That was really good.
Well, and then it's like, what's in the box? Paint. I'm going to be making so many memes of that. It's coming.
It's coming. Yeah, keep going. What do you guys think of the story, the pacing, and all that?
Well, the first act was really, really slow.
Yeah, it was very slow. Yeah,
they took forever to get to the point where, I mean, it started with the Fremen and then Zendaya's like dialogue, and then it goes to, it's like, oh, the Harkonnen are here and they treat us like shit, and then they left. And it's like, wait, what? Okay. And then they go to Atreides, and then we spend an hour on Caladan before they take the bullhead and pack it up and go to Arrakis. It's like, well, I'm gonna take my grandpa's head. Let's go. Let's go. We're going to the desert planet. And in between there, between the guy reading, I mean, the scene where the guy had to scroll and the Emperor says you got to go here, and I'm like, yo, all right, so is somebody gonna agree? Like Oscar Isaac walks over, it takes him 15 minutes to walk over there, put his little ring on there to sign it. Everything was like ground to a halt. I was like, can we get somewhere? And then finally, after I think an hour and 10 minutes, then things started happening. The movie picked up when it got to Arrakis, but it took forever to get there. And I think that was one of the main problems. His pacing was bad. It it needed to have a consistent pace, and it didn't. It's like a Prius trying to accelerate on the highway. It just doesn't have the horsepower to get there. And then when you get up to speed, it's finally all right. I'm on highway speed, and now we're moving. They get to Arrakis, they start setting up, and then things starts happening, like the assassination attempt on Paul, and they go. I love the scene where they go. Finally, we see a spice harvester, and we see a sandworm, and all that stuff. Like, oh yes, all these things. Okay, great. You know, but just getting there, getting to the second act was just took so long. I just felt the pacing was a problem in this movie, and then it had jumps where after the invasion, after Harkonnen comes down and the Emperor's like elite guard, I forgot what they're called.
Oh, the
Uh
Sutter car, yeah.
yeah, I like that scene in the rain where they were setting up to go. That was nice. Uh I liked when they finally invaded. It was it was like a major like action set piece and Jason Momoa escaping the whole thing and them taking Paul and the mother out to the desert. Although like the voice was like super mind control there. She made them
Yeah.
kill each other, and I was like, damn, that ain't talking about pineapple pizza. She just made them freaking murder each other. Like, holy shit! It's like don't ungag that woman. Like, they had gagged her, and she just took over that whole ship. So that was interesting. I forgot they had a name for it in the '84 movie.
Oh, the weirding way
The
that
weirding, yeah,
yeah.
the weirding,
By,
and
by the
then
way,
but you
the
needed a
fucking
module to in the
yeah,
movie
in
to
the
do it.
movie, yeah, and the David Lynch, I'm like, why is it a fucking gun? It's literally a martial art. That's all the weirding way is.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So I
Jessica got
found
busy too, you know?
okay. So I didn't
Yeah,
know that because I never read the book, but
yeah,
I remember I was like, oh, I thought you needed a device to do that, and they're
yeah,
just doing it with
yeah,
their voice, right? And then that was why he was special in that movie is because it's like, oh, he's weirding without the module, and it's like, oh, okay, and now in this movie, it's like, oh, he just does it straight off the bat. Okay, that's great. You don't need this weird device. Um, but so in terms of pacing, no, but like everything else of the movie was beautiful. Like you look at every single thing in this movie, the costumes, the writing, the even the CG was perfect. Like when he's flying, when Oscar Isaac is piloting, and I found it funny. I was like, oh,
yeah.
look at what's his name from Star Wars?
Oh,
You know,
Dameron, you
Paul
know, I
Dameron here
wanted to be
fly.
a
Yeah,
pilot.
yeah. He even does the thing where he
Yeah,
cuts he cuts the power and he does that power dive because he
yeah,
has to
yeah,
get to
yeah.
the
Yeah.
the harvester and he dives. Like, oh, this is Poe Dameron right here. Look at him flying. Um, but it looked beautiful. Like when it looked like looked like almost a real shot of a helicopter flying over something, right?
Yeah.
And that whole scene was very well done. And I was like, oh, you just needed to keep that kind of pacing because you ramped up and then it goes right back down um up until the Harkonnens invade, and then everything drops off again. It's like they didn't keep up the tension with Paul and his mother getting chased. Like there was the scene where they go to the Dragonfly ship, and she's constantly looking. He's like slowly starting up the ship. It's not starting. The wings aren't flapping. He's like flipping switches, and the mother's looking at the door. And I expect like the guys to come running out of there, right? And they never come. And I'm like, oh, we had like a fake jump scare. What was this? It's like there should have been some tension there, but the tension was just cut. But then the other lady who was using the thumper, she was going to ride the sandworm. Then they go stab her for some reason. I guess because they went the wrong way and didn't split up. Because who would do that when you have two paths? It's like, oh, they could have gone this way. They just ran the other way. I don't know. And then them walking in the desert, I almost fell asleep because they were walking around and they took off their backpacks and they put on their backpacks and they sit down and they stand up and they start walking and there's rocks and then there's no rocks. I was like, what the hell? It took forever to get to the sandworm. And then okay, I'm going to say this. Do the knife fight before the sandworm, okay? Because you ended with West Side Story, you should have ended with the sandworm. There shouldn't have been this knife duel. The knife duel should have been set up before that, and then he should have done the amazing thing where he stops the sandworm, and that should have been like the end of this movie. Because I didn't like the knife fight. The knife fight was just kind of silly. He just like owned that guy, and then they go off, and it's like, oh look, they're writing sandworms. Like, okay, great, and then it ended.
Yeah.
I'm like, he did the amazing thing 30 minutes ago where he stopped the sandworm. I mean, because the sandworm has eaten everything. It ate the spice harvester. It ate the elite guards. I'm like, this thing is huge. It eats everything. And it stopped when he looked at it. It stopped. I'm like, and the other guy went, oh, it's because of my thumper. I'm like, really, bro? Really? He was staring at it for like 10 minutes before you set that thing off. Come on.
Yeah. I do want to say this, though. Even though the sandworm does not like attack him like that, the real reason it stopped is because that's where the rock started. Like the sand is, you know what I'm saying? Like it's blocking him from moving forward. But it was kind of, even the book was like kind of like, what is that thing mesmerized or something? But yeah, no, the real reason it physically stops is because he can't go any further.
But it could have turned. It could have taken other actions. Like if an animal's coming to something with an impasse, it would just turn. It would just break off its attack. It wouldn't just stop and freeze there and look at the meal that it was going to have and go, nah, you know, it's not worth breaking my teeth on these rocks. I'm going to just go over here now.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's like it's more attracted to. It's not like it's starving. It's just like it's more attracted to sound.
And
like,
again,
like a shark. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You know, like it just like, oh, blood. Let's go over here.
And again, I'm kind of spoiled because in the '84 movie he does that. That's one of the amazing things he does is he yells at the sandworm and he can control it. And they're like, oh, I forgot what they called it when he did that. But I'm like, oh, he's doing that thing that was in the other movie. He's controlling the sandworm. But then the guy went, no, I did it. And then it's like, all right, bro, we're gonna knife fight now.
Yeah, I do want to say this though. Yeah, I mean, again, you know that's what happened, but that was afterwards. But Chris, it's funny you said that was like kind of too slow because like this what happened in the book. We had the whole thing with the worm. They got caught in the little like alcove or whatever, and then like 3 chapters passed before we get to the knife fight. Like in this one, I'm like, whoa, you're doing it already? Whoa, man, slow down, chill, shit. Like no, but I you know. I did like the kind of challenge that he gave him is like, all right, bro, I'm fucking killing you right now, you know. And I also like how possibly that guy could have been his friend in another like iteration, you know. They like he could have shown him the ways of the desert. But I didn't come to be. He had ended up coming. I didn't like the way I thought it was like too. I guess because it's a PG-13 movie, they couldn't go too crazy or whatever. Because it did feel like, oh, he turned around and slipped him, you know, and then that was it, you know.
Yeah, I think they used up the whole rating on Jason Momoa getting stabbed and then pulling out. Like he waited for everybody to pass him, and he pulls a sword out of himself. I'm like, oh, that's as far as the MPA is going to let you show blood. A guy drawing a knife out of himself and murdering.
And even then, if you think about it, it's like.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but even then, if you think about it, Chris, it wasn't really like a lot of blood. It was more like, oh, there's a red glow on my
chest
some red. Right now.
Except his visions, they kept showing the bloody there, knife. Yeah,
yeah. But the whole time I'm watching that blood, I'm like, dude, that's a lot of water. Preserve that shit. It's dry out there. You know. Anyway, go on.
Quick question for Chris.
Yeah.
Since you brought up Jason Momoa, can you explain to me why the first time we see him he has a beard? The next time we see him, he's clean shaven. So did he have any other movies he was filming in between this movie? Because I was a little confused. Like, oh.
Yeah, he looked like Aquaman at the start of the movie, and then all of a sudden he just shaved.
Yeah, he looked like Ronin at the end.
Yeah,
from Stargate, you know. No, I mean, I think like the movie didn't say this. I think it's because like he had the beard when he was with the Fremen. You know, he had to look like them, and now when he was back with the Atreides, like, all right, let me look civilized again. That's the way I took it. You know.
And this was one of the few. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna bring up like. I was if you know you're going to a desert planet, right, with not a lot of water, and you come from a planet with a lot of water, would you not bring some water as a bargaining tool? Because I mean, obviously they have books on the Fremen. Like you see Paul reading about still suits and all that stuff. He has books. It's like they obviously know about them. There's obviously knowledge of Arrakis. The Harkonnen have been there for years, so there's obviously they know how these people operate. There's legends. His mother knows about them. So it's like, hey, they don't have a lot of water. Water's precious to them. Oh, gee, look out the window. There's a lot of water. And we have giant ships. Well, we fill one with some water, and that would be a great bargaining tool so they don't need to cut anyone and drain them of their water. It's like, hey, bro, I got barrels of water. It's like you would have the best bargaining chip to get the Freeman on your side. Like in 2 seconds, they would have negotiated with them instead of spitting on the table or whatever they were doing to negotiate. And then like spitting in a cup of like, wow, this is really gross.
Yeah. Again, I wish the movie would elaborate on that. The reason they can't do that is because traveling through space is super expensive. Like, remember that big ship they came out of? That is a ship that's used by the Spacing Guild, right? You have to pay them in order to travel through space. And even in the book, it's like, yo, should we bring the bull? It's like that's going to cost more money to transport. Because like even the Harkonnens are like, yo, it costs us a lot of money to get this invasion going. So you kind of have to limit the amount of shit you're traveling with. So that's why they couldn't just bring like, hey, let's bring like an entire continent's worth of water.
Okay, so
they couldn't. But again, the movie didn't do a good job of explaining. It's like, yeah, they're very limited in what they could transport because they got to pay these motherfuckers. Basically, they're taking public transport. Like, House Atreides cannot go there on their own. Like, they have to pay these idiots.
All right, well, I'm glad you explained that because they needed a line or two of that in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Simple. Yeah, that annoyed me. Like, you couldn't just be like, yo, these guys are, they pretty much have a monopoly on space travel. You have to go through them no matter what, so you can't just, again, but I mean, the Harkonnen guy said it, but you couldn't really make that connection because he was like, damn, this shit cost me a lot of fucking money to start this invasion.
It's Star Wars.
That's the reason. Yeah.
It's Star Wars.
Yeah, but Chris, I'm with you 100%. They should have explained that because you're right. If you're just watching, it's just for Dolo, you're like, bring the fucking water. You got a whole planet full of this shit, But also, this just me thinking like maybe they can't upset the economy going on Arrakis because remember in the movie they were like, we were about to turn this into a water world, then we found the spice like, oh, leave that shit be, And I'm pretty sure the Spacing Guild probably looks at every single piece of cargo they bring to them. It's like, oh, that water, don't fuck it up. We need that spice. Anyway, go on. We're still talking about pacing and the story and all that.
Oh, yeah. I'm done. All right.
Okay, just anybody. We're doing free form here. Just jump in.
I think that's one of the big decisions that that Denis and the people who made this movie had to take in terms of pacing. Because kind of similar to Lord of the Rings, a lot of the criticisms for that franchise in general is just like it's just a whole bunch of little people walking, like there's a lot of scenes like that. So sometimes I feel it's hard to encompass what you wanted the story you want to tell with going as fast, point like it. Sometimes it can feel too snappy. So I guess it's a double-edged sword. It could either feel too long or too short. Sometimes it's hard to do an in between. For me, if I had to choose between it dragging a little bit as opposed to just doing quicker cuts, I feel I like the way they did it like this. I don't know. I just feel, especially because Chris mentioned at the beginning, it's like, oh, it's a pretty picture, and I'm like, I like looking at pretty pictures. So I feel I didn't mind it as much, but I do agree that it does drag a little bit too long. But yeah, the pacing, it didn't throw me off. I felt the part that made me feel a little bit too long was the beginning, just because I didn't know anything about this universe. And it's like, because usually when you watch a movie, you're programmed to find that first catalyst that initiates everything. It's like, oh, we're going to get the ring, Frodo, like that kind of stuff, or we're going to Mount Doom. Don't tempt me, Frodo. that like that first initial catalyst. This is what we're gonna. Oh, this is our journey. This is what's gonna initiate the journey to do what we want to do. And in this movie, that doesn't really happen until like the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
It's like this movie feels more of a prologue to me. It feels like Battlestar Galactica in a way. It's like, remember Battlestar Galactica when it starts? It's like they don't really like it's like the world they're living in, and they're trying to see. It's like, oh, these are the people in the world, and then I think after the first episode, it's like the catalyst of where they're going. I see Rich is
gone. Rich is gone.
Yeah, here
Battlestar Galactica. Continue.
Yeah, so I feel like, and in this movie, I feel like most of the movie kind of feels like a prologue to me. I feel like the actual movie starts as soon as Paul and his mom meet up with the Fremens. I feel that's when it first starts. But I feel like the catalyst is the invasion of the Harkonnens into the planet. I feel like that's the catalyst that's like triggers everything. Obviously, there's like politics and everything else beforehand. And by the way, there is one trope that happens in this movie that happens in every other movie.
Uh-oh.
And I call it the Uncle Ben syndrome. And that's Oscar Isaac's character. I knew that motherfucker was gonna die after that ring talk.
And that is a perfect segue, because that for me is when the movie got more interesting.
Oh,
when they kill off that character, and then all the events that happen right after that.
Yeah. By the way, they should have had what's his face play him, Sean Bean. That would have been perfect. By the way, that was another thing. From the book and the movie too. It's like when you read it, it's like, yo, this is some Game of Thrones shit. They're just killing these characters that you kind of get to know, and it's like, oh no, you're dead now. But yeah, no, Carlos, you're right. It's like that giveaway. It's like, okay, here's the ring, here's the family. It's like, this motherfucker's gonna die.
Yeah, I was like your grandfather. It's like, yeah, this is Uncle Ben speak.
Yeah, they just didn't have the typical like the main character looking down on them while they're dying, like Peter, like Uncle Ben died. He didn't have that,
It's funny because of that scene with the ring when he's about to sign. It's just 3 minutes of everyone staring at each other. It's like, yeah, he's gonna get got. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen real soon.
Yeah,
everyone's just staring at each other like, all right.
Which is a shame because Oscar Isaac's awesome.
Yeah,
he's really good in this movie.
I mean,
he really is.
He has to get ready to film Moon Knight, Carlos.
Oh yeah,
he has to get ready for that role.
So. Are you sure he's not doing Apocalypse too?
Oh, let's hope not.
And Metal Gear. No. And Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear.
Wait, is he Solid Snake?
He's Solid Snake.
What?
Oh
shit!
Yeah. Oscar Isaac is Solid Snake.
Please be good. Please be good. Hollywood be fucking up. By the way, that was a good kind of segue, I guess, because we talk about the story. Yeah, let's talk about the characters. What do we think of the characters? Their motivations and all of that. Joey, I already see you getting animated over there. Dana, you go after him because my man's already like.
Just real quick, as what Chris was saying
yeah.
when he was talking about Jason Momoa. This was one of the few times I've never been a huge fan. I enjoyed them here. I really like.
He didn't act like himself. You know what I'm saying? Like Jason Momoa has a very specific way. Even though, granted, he was different as Khal Drogo, but yeah, he's used that my man. He's that type of guy.
Yeah, but here he had a real director.
Yeah, there was that one part where he meets up with where he meets up with Paul, where he does that kind of crouching about to go get him. But, oh, remember that picture with him and Henry Cavill? Like he's doing the same shit.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right about that. I felt that I'm like, Jason Momoa is not acting Momoa-ish in this movie, so which was kind of rushing. Granted, he didn't act Momoa-ish as Khal Drogo either, but you know what I'm saying. Like he has a certain thing, even though he still has more variety in Tom Holland. Though Carlos, remember we talked about the other day, because my man is like I'm sorry, not to go off topic, but come on, man, he was Peter Parker in the Uncharted movie. Like Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's just talk about the characters and all that. Dane, I see you shaking your head so hard.
Well, she look at her hat.
Yeah.
Oh, you're on mute.
Sand everywhere.
You're muted.
Unmute yourself, girl.
There you go.
No, I was saying, everything, not to get off topic, but the whole Uncharted thing, I'm like, everything you're saying is so wrong yet so right. Because that's all I saw was Peter Parker. Like him grabbing for things, I'm like, well, just shoot your web. You're fine. But in terms of this movie, with the characters for Timothy Chalamet, or whatever his name is, I just kept getting Chalamet. I just kept getting the whole Hayden Christensen vibe, like the moody teenager that and he wanted to do right by his father, and I do appreciate it. Josh Brolin, who played his father, instead of being like, you're a failure, taking that route, he was very supportive of his son.
Wait, I thought Oscar Isaac was his father.
Oh, I mean, Oscar Isaac. I'm sorry, they all look alike after a while. The movie was boring. So,
Tell us how you really feel.
Sorry.
I'm coming.
Hold on.
I'm coming.
Hold on, Dana. Well, hold on, Dana. But before you continue, I just want to make a quick comment. Since you mentioned Hayden Christensen, we all can agree in this call that Anakin Skywalker would have failed that test.
Oh God.
Yeah, he would have failed the test. He was an animal. He was an animal.
Yeah, he would have gotten up and chopped her head off with a lightsaber. Well, he would have cut his own hand off out of the box. He'd just get a robot hand.
Yeah.
The only character I wanted to see more of, only because I'm biased, I'm a huge fan, is Javier Bardem. And we saw him at the end.
We saw him at the end. He had like one word, and that was it.
Wait, who?
Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem.
I don't know who that is.
He don't know actors.
Yeah, I don't know actors. Who was he in the movie?
He was at the very end when they saw the group in the desert. He was the one that was talking.
Also, he came earlier to negotiate with Atreides. He was the Fremen who came in to negotiate with Oscar Isaac.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, they spat on the table together. They had fun. They laughed. They cried.
Yeah. That dude was fucking awesome.
Javier Bardem is the enemy in Skyfall also.
Yeah,
remember that?
He was the bad guy in Skyfall.
That's why he looked familiar. Okay.
That's the man right there.
Like that dude, great fucking actor. And again, he was in this movie for like what, 5 minutes? He was great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tony.
Snyder could have got more.
Oh no, you haven't seen this movie. Never mind.
All right, never mind. Go ahead, keep going.
No, so basically, the whole Timothy Chalamet, whatever his name is, my problem with it is that he can't emote. He just gave one emotion kind of through the whole movie, and it was just frustrating.
It was just mopey instead of Hayden Christensen's angry face.
Yeah,
angry face.
Yeah.
He was easier to take than fucking Hayden Christensen, you know.
Yeah, but Hayden at least had an emotion. The guy didn't even get. He was like, my hands in the back. Ow, ooh, oh, it hurts.
I don't know.
He was crying.
Yeah, he was
crying in
in
that scene.
It was silent tears.
Film, to be honest. By the way, I'm going to say this though. I like the fact that he actually has emotion in this fucking movie. In the book, he really doesn't. He's just kind of just going through the pace in the book. So I appreciate that he actually has emotion. Like I really like the scene with him and his mom in the tent where he's like, "Yo, you did this shit to me. You made me a freak." I'm like, "Yeah, this is great stuff." You know. In the book, it was kind of like, you know, it's like, yeah, no. So I like that. He was really good. But you're right, Dana. I will give you this though. I wish there was a little bit more of it because I'm like, okay, I see the chops there, bro. You know, because he kind of stoic most of the time, but when he does bring those emotions out, it's really well done. Mr. Timothy. I'm not gonna bother with his last name. It's too much. You know?
But he was. Yeah. Oh,
go ahead, Dana. Sorry.
No, so you got him. I thought Oscar Isaac, I wanted him to be much longer, but you knew he was going to die. He was great. Jason Momoa showed another side of himself that wasn't like the beach surfer, the relaxed guy. So he did great with that one. The mom, I like the mom. The thing is, I know that she could do more. She was really, but that wasn't her role. Her role was more of like, trying to be the stoic mother. Her acting, was much different than what I've seen her in because she can be really creepy when she wants to be. So I appreciate that out of her. I wanted more of Javier Bardem. Just his presence alone was just amazing.
Yes, sir.
I do love the part when what was it? Dave Bautista. It was really interesting watching him, but again, he doesn't really emote. So I really wish I could have gotten more. And I think that for some dude who just had a whole bunch of like a fat suit on and everything else, what's his name? The daddy who's the part the Jabba,
or whatever.
Skarsgård.
Yeah,
he did pretty good.
Well, what's funny is like, all right, so and I know some you guys don't know in the David Lynch movie, Baron Harkonnen looked like just this
Yeah.
fat Jabba the Hutt looking. He was half
It was
his
like
body
Mad
was in
Max.
this floating
He had
machine.
boils
He
everywhere.
had boils all
Yeah.
over
was
him.
like
He
Mad
was
Max.
greasy.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was like Mad Max. He looked like something like that. I like
Yep.
this one. Like he's still big, but Skarsgård more played him like it's like, hey, think of mix some Apocalypse Now, Marlon Brando
Mhm.
and Bane together and play him like that. Because that's I got Marlon Brando vibes from the way he was acting, the way he carried himself. He was sitting. He
Yeah,
reminded
for
me of
sure.
that, Um, but he did it well. I don't know what's up with the Harkos. I don't know what they take. Do they take baths in crude oil or something? I don't know what they were pouring on him. They
I
did
think
not
that's how
explain
they
that.
heal. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
just how they heal. By the way, that scene is not in the book. Because in the book that where when the gas comes out of him,
yeah.
that scene took place inside a Harkonnen ship, right? So when that happens, Baron, he kind of just goes into this like kind of compartment to protect himself. But in this one, he actually got hit by it. I that it, again they didn't explain it, but I'm guessing that's just how they heal because he's weird, But Chris, you're right, when that scene where he comes out of the oil, I guess, like yeah, that's some apocalypse
Well,
shit right there,
Yeah,
Apocalypse
that
Now
that
type
scene,
shit.
and also where you first meet him when Bautista has his tantrum that they left Arrakis. He's like, "Uncle, why did it?" blah, blah," And then he's sitting there and he kind of rubs his head. Okay, I don't know who has seen Apocalypse Now, but
Yeah,
when
Yeah.
when Martin Sheen first gets to the camp and he meets Marlon Brando, he does the exact same thing.
hmm
He starts talking to him and he rubs
Mhm.
his head and he just very slowly starts talking back
That
to
must have
him.
been deliberate because it was
Yeah,
like right shot for shot. By the way,
yeah.
real quick, not to go too off topic because I just have to say this, because you were talking about the pace of this, and I didn't make this connection when I was watching the movie, but since you're here, and I always think of Star Trek, it was kind of like in some ways the first Star Trek movie. Remember that? It's like,
Oh, it's motion picture.
yeah. But like we're just gonna like, oh, here's the Starship Enterprise. We're gonna just linger on it for about 5 minutes, bro.
But
Well,
here's
yeah.
the thing with this movie, if you like, you have to watch it. Like it kept me engrossed, right? Motion picture, you could take a nap and wake up and keep going and understand what's happening. You miss nothing. But this movie, if you do that, wait, where are we? Who are these? Who's these guys in white? What is happening? Like you can't disengage from this movie. Motion picture is so boring, you can
Yeah.
disengage for huge chunks of time and still understand. Oh, Vija's still there. They're still flying at it. Okay.
Yeah, no, this one, it was like there were those parts that were slow, but at least it was still engaging. Like it started like, what do we do? Why are we still looking at the Starship Enterprise? There's no story going on right now.
So I have a question.
Vidra's coming. It's like, oh, all right, Anyway, go ahead, bro.
And maybe this was clarified in the movie, but the Harkonnens and the whatever the Paul people are,
The Atreides, House Atreides.
Atreides,
Yeah.
all of they're all the same, race, right? They're all humans.
I'm going to say this though, because the movie didn't say this. There are no aliens in this world, right? Even if because there's that weird spider thing. Even that's not alien. That's just a genetically mutated human. There are no alien. The only aliens is like animal life, like the sandworms and the
Those little
Muad'Dib.
mice.
Yeah, the Muad'Dib. But yeah, they're all human. There are no aliens in this franchise.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
And by the way, and the book doesn't get into this either. I mean, the movie doesn't get into this. Because you notice their technology was very kind of lo-fi or whatever, right? That's because in this world, 10,000 years in their past, they had this big war with cyborgs and AI and shit. So after like, okay, no, none of this stuff. We're just gonna go back to basics. This is why, and the movie didn't explain this too. That's why you have these people called mentats, who are basically human supercomputers. The guys with the little thing on their lip and their eyes kind of roll back in their head.
Yeah,
They're basically like human supercomputers, and that's why they also kind of enhance whatever psychic abilities in there because they do not want to go back to having digital anything or AI or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are no aliens, no robots, none of that stuff.
And then George Lucas was like, "Nah, I'm bringing all that."
All that, Anyway, continue.
Well, he did have a robot. What was that weird spherical yellow thing that when Paul woke up, it like followed him around?
Yeah, they have robots like that, but it's not AI driven.
Okay, it's not intelligent.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have Roombas and shit like that, but they don't have anything that can
Yeah, and
think,
it's funny. Like
Yeah.
he pulls out. The only time you see someone pull out a gun was when Paul took up a position on the cliff,
Yeah.
and he pulled out that pistol. That's the only time you see a gun. Everybody like they're dropping like super bombs that go through shields and missiles. Then they run out of their ship and they start sword fighting. And, it's like crazy. Nobody has guns.
Again, they
They're
didn't
just
fucking
hands.
explain that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they do have laser guns in this world, right? But the thing is, if a laser gun shoots a shield, it creates a nuclear explosion. So that's
so
why they
it's
go
like
with
that's why they
swords.
don't go with swords. Okay.
Yeah, and that's also why they
We'll
didn't
get there
shoot
in the
like.
sequel.
Yeah, exactly. Like you notice they only use the lasers against like actual like fixed structures. Like if
Yeah.
they would have shot it into a shield, it would just nuclear explosions everywhere. Even though it's funny because they actually do have nuclear bombs in this world too. But they didn't get into that. But that's the reason why they because you're right. Even me knowing this, I'm like, you motherfuckers just running out with swords. What? There's explosions everywhere, bro. But that's the reason why. But again, they could have explained that in a sentence or two.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue. By the way, I gotta say this, man. I hope there's a director's cut. It's like not 4 hours long. That's too much, but like at least 20 more minutes. I think would have been appreciated, at least for me.
An extended edition, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like how the Lord of the Rings movies, like I mean, those were already 3 hours just off the bat. But like I think this movie, 3 hour long max would be 2 hours 50 minutes. Like the Fellowship of the Ring would be a little bit better. Just to explain a couple little things that could have just been done. It was like, oh, this is why we can't use laser guns. This is why we didn't bring water to the planet. Little things like that,
I'm hoping there
anyway,
will be, but
go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm hoping there will be, but knowing director, he's not that type. He's like, this is my cut, and this like the final version is gonna be my final version, like Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. Those guys do not have director's cuts. Like the director's cut is what you see in the theater.
Yeah,
the theatrical.
Yeah.
As far as Timothée Chalamet's character, I guess I understood that he wasn't emoting and stuff like that, because it just seemed like his whole life has been programmed.
Yeah, this
is
true. Yeah,
it feels like and it's from two sides. It's like his father's side. It's like I'm raising you to be the successor to this clan essentially, and from the mother's side, I'm raising you to be the one, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So I kind of understood that. The one question that I have for you guys is, obviously the mother and the father know that Paul is of that race. Does everyone else know? Obviously the people, I guess they do, because the people, the Fremens, when they receive them, they're calling them that name. So I guess everyone knows, right?
Yeah, because the thing is, remember the Bene Gesserit, they planted those seeds thousands of years ago or whatever to build up that whole legend. But the thing is, like, even there's a scene where he's talking to Jason Momoa, right? He's like, I had these visions, like, oh, I'm glad I don't die. So he knows too, because remember, he kind of just like, you had visions, I'm alive, I'm okay, so
because
they know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then okay, it makes all sense, because I was thinking, then why didn't the Harkonnens do anything? I was like, no, but they gagged them, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. You know why they gagged them? Because they didn't want those fucking powers being used. Yeah, but I do have a question though, because like, that's like the whole speech thing is Bene Gesserit stuff that everybody would know about, but like, do you think anybody outside of like the Atreides' main circle knows about those powers? Because I would think he would have told Jason Moore that, just because you see how friendly they were and stuff. But I'm wondering, like, does the random maid that's carrying her skirt around know? I'm not sure about that. I'm not, what I'm saying. But I think like the main people know about it. Is potential.
I have a question. Is that weird sign language they had in the book? Like,
no,
which uses the one
wasn't.
hand talking, like where it's subtitles.
No, it was not actually in the book. They kind of do some weird kind of mental speaking and stuff, mostly with their eyes. So I think that was actually good that they did sign language and stuff.
Yeah,
just to visually convey that. But no, that specifically is not in there.
Chris, maybe they explained using sign language why there wasn't any. They didn't bring any water.
Yeah, right.
No, but there was all subtitles for that, and it was all short sentences like "Don't speak, look out."
Yeah, they have a version of that, but I think it was visually better in the movie, the sign language stuff. I thought that was really well done.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I'm watching this again tonight.
Oh, I'm already there. I already wanted to watch this again before we started doing the podcast. I'm like, bro.
I have another question.
Go ahead, bro.
And
Uchijo.
Is it just, obviously they bring the whole civilization to
Atreides, they brought everybody.
Yeah,
they brought all of them.
So that's Okay, I'm glad Carlos brought that up because I was confused when the mother was begging the Fremen. They said, "You have to get Paul off world. We have to go
Yeah.
back to Caladan." I'm like, "You even took the bullhead. What's left? You took the whole house.
Yeah,
Like,
no, you're right
why
about
go
that.
back there? Like, why not like pay the Space Guild and say like, hey, you got to protect my son, or get him to a random colony world? Like, he needs to hide. We're gonna change his name. Fucking cut that moppy hair off. Like, just no, we're gonna go back to Canada. I'm like, you literally packed up the bullhead. You left nothing there.
Yeah, you just
No
got an
people, no
empty building.
soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you got. And that's one of the things, and this is just for the both narratives, right? And I think, and I know this is unfair because I'm comparing it to Game of Thrones right now, which is obviously, inspired by this, but it's just more complicated because I'm like, okay, because under normal circumstances, like, okay, you would at least leave like an uncle or something, you know what I'm saying, behind on Kaladin just in case, I don't know if Duke Leto had any brothers, but you figured, hey, here's my third cousin removed, leave this motherfucker behind on Kaladin just in case. You know, Game of Thrones does that type of shit all the time. So you're right that they just brought everybody along, and when I read the book, that's the one thing I felt like, oh, this is like simple Game of Thrones, because you only really have two main houses. Like if it was Game of Thrones, they'd have like fucking 50 houses.
Yeah, you'd
the
have
phrase
John
would be scheming, Baron Dondarrion, like you would have all this shit going on,
Well, it makes me think again, back to this whole, moving all these people to Arrakis. It's like, where are the women at?
Yeah.
It's like you only see the mom, you see the lady that's holding her dress. The servants weren't from the planet. That was kind of weird. And you see all the soldiers, which are men. But I'm like, where are the women at?
Yeah,
like that's
even the book didn't do a good job of that either. Like where are the women who may be scheme again? Carlos, I think we may be judging this too much on like Game of Thrones level because they got everybody in that shit. But you're right. It's like where are the other minor houses and all that? Like where are all these people?
Yeah, because it's like it feels like the only people who went are the nobles and the soldiers.
Yeah, exactly. But again, I think that's just how fantasy and sci-fi has evolved. Like think about it like this: when the Lord of the Rings came out, right? It was like, oh, Aragorn's the king, and everybody was happy, happy ever after, right? But like we're thinking, like, okay, so how would Aragorn handle a land dispute between two nobles? Or what if another noble like raped the wife of another one? Like, how would he handle shit like that? So, I think it's kind of a testament to how like much better story building has become in fiction, after Dune, because again, that was one of my takeaways when I was reading the book, and even this movie, like this simple Game of Thrones, like where's all the other houses? Where's all this other shit that would be there? Because you're right, like why would you bring your entire house to this dangerous planet and not leave somebody behind that could succeed the Atreides line,
Especially reinforcements,
exactly. So that's a fault of all the narratives, you know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, you would have somebody behind. Like, obviously, you may want to make sure they're someone who's not going to try to usurp you too. You know what I'm saying? But I kind of see like Atreides as like House Stark. Like they're probably the most noble of these people, so maybe they would have somebody like a second cousin removed you could leave behind. That'd be okay. But yeah, I don't know. But I think I wish even the book too would have expanded more on that, because I like seeing all that political shit going on,
Yeah.
But yeah, right about this. Like you just brought the whole family, bro. Shit.
Yeah, you put all your eggs on one basket. It's like, and they're talking about how the place was like one of the most fortified places. I'm like,
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, hold on, I got to go off on that too. If Caladan is so fortified, you could leave a minor house that's related to the Atreides behind, because they're not going to get fucked up, unless they're super incompetent or something, And
also, like, not knowing the book or anything, just the old movie where they really didn't go into the Emperor. The politics beyond the houses wasn't really touched on after the first 20 minutes.
Yeah,
but
the book doesn't either, to be honest. So that's what's kind of frustrating.
Yeah,
like, you eventually get to meet this other house that's kind of like a bridge between, and they give you hints like, oh, here's the major houses, here are the minor houses, but they don't delve into it as like something like Game of Thrones would have,
Yeah, but I was like, okay, when the Emperor's like ordered him to Caladan, he's like, oh yeah, we accept, and they're packing up everything. I'm like, what would stop the Emperor from taking your planet right now? You abandon it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I thought was gonna happen. I'm like, wow, huge land grab. The Emperor just got this resource rich. It looks like Earth. It looks like lush.
Yeah.
It's green. There's plenty of water. I'm like, what would stop him from going? Calden now belongs to House Harkonnen. How do you like them apples? You know,
Mhm.
like nothing,
You're
right?
And
They
you
left.
know that would have happened on fucking Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
You know that would have happened because that did happen. You know, it's like, oh, Ned Stark got killed. Oh, we're taking over the fucking Winterfell now.
Yeah.
You know, so man, that would have been good. This is a critique of the actual main story now, bro. This is right. It's like, bro, you just left this whole lush planet behind. You think the Emperor's not going to roll up? You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue. I think we talked about the characters. Any other characters that stood out to you? I'll say this real quick. I just find it funny with Zendaya, right? Because she is so heavily into these ads, right? She's everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's like in 2 minutes of this movie, you know. Because I granted she is in the movie the entire time with visions. I'm talking about the actual real her. Like I think her first line is like, "Yo, you know I wasn't going to let you away with that shit, right?"
Yeah.
Like, that was a real first line.
Mhm.
I mean, she was good for what she was doing. Don't get me wrong, but it's like, and she will obviously have more of a presence. But it's like they just put so much marketing behind her, and she's in the movie for like 2 minutes. It's kind of like Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village. It's like they just put her everywhere. And she's like in the game for like 2 hours at most. You know?
Yeah, that's a great.
It's
great
funny.
comparison.
It's funny because sorry.
Now, go ahead, Rich.
Oh no, go ahead.
No,
go
it's
ahead.
funny because like a week or two ago, they were saying like, yeah, Zendaya, she filmed for like 4 days and then she was done. I was like, all right,
Yeah,
here for a bit. 4 days, he lost.
that's all she needed, man. She wanted to go back to kiss Peter Parker. You know?
That's right. Mhm.
Rich,
I just
I was
overall,
right.
overall, I felt like all the characters did a really good job. I felt all the actors were really good, especially Oscar Isaac and was it Rebecca Ferguson?
Yeah, she's
Thought they
really
were
good.
Yeah,
really good.
they're very
Yeah.
good.
I like them. I mean, anything else you guys want to jump in with the characters or anything like that? I'm like, I
Well,
think we kind of
I-
said most of everything we needed to, but
Well, I'm
yeah,
glad they
freeform.
they did he did it very well where they established where everybody stood, like their alignment and everything. Like the Harkonnen and evil, like and how they treat people, how they act, and then where the Baron stands. I mean, he has that meeting with the witch, and
Yeah.
then he's like, "Oh, I won't harm Paul Atreides and his mother," right? Then as soon as she walks out the room, it's like, "No, please kill him." They're like,
Yeah.
no, but you gave your word. He's like, no. I'm not gonna kill him. We're gonna throw him in the desert, and the desert will kill him. Like that.
Yeah.
Like he's deceitful. And then Oscar Isaac has that. I mean, I love the spice
Yeah, the
collector scene,
yeah.
right? That's
was
his
cool.
save the cat moment, like, but it's just gigantic. He lands. He's like, oh, we can only carry 7 people in each ship,
Well,
and
he
he's
said it
like,
was
we'll
6.
manage.
Yeah, it
Or
was
6
it was
people.
like
He's
6,
like, we'll
yeah.
manage. He's like, I don't care. I don't. Even they say, oh, we'll lose all this spice. I forgot how much they said it was, and he's like, I don't give a shit about the spice. I want my men back, right? So that he's an honorable man. Like
Yeah.
he even would give up a fortune and the refinery to save his people. So that was good. Like those scenes were well done. It's just interspersed with a lot of Hans Zimmer music and set pieces, and nothing, right? You need to squeeze like half an hour out of this movie and join those together.
All right. Yeah, I guess we're on that right now. Like for just final thoughts. Dana, let's go with you. Final thoughts. You're muted,
muted.
again.
You're muted.
Sand
Dana, final
everywhere.
thoughts.
I was saying Richard didn't get a chance to. Richard didn't get a chance to say.
Oh yeah, Rich, you gonna say something, man?
Oh no, I mean I was gonna say, yeah, I enjoyed the characters.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any real complaints. I thought all the stuff that you guys mentioned, I pretty much agree with.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, Dana, continue. The final
And
thoughts.
for me, I'm the only one who felt this way. Music sometimes is a bit overpowered. See, this is not right. Just not right, Joey. But the music was overpowering at some points, and all I could think of was like that Wonder Woman score that whole time. I mean, it was that same kind of repeating with that. Remember, it was like the women crying, wailing sound that they did.
Yeah, Here's the thing with that stuff. I know what you're talking about, but since every movie has that, it fell into the background for me.
Well, you know what? You know what it reminds me of?
I actually thought the music was very, very subtle in this, in a good way, though. You know,
it reminded. It was like, I'm with Tony. It was a toned down version of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, it was very. So I really like the music because when it does stand out, it's subtle. I'm like, ooh, this is cool. What are they doing here? But you're right. That kind of that kind of shit. It kind of just goes into the background because every fucking movie has that, and they've been having that. What was the movie that kicked off? It was Gladiator, right? That really popularized that type of shit. Like after that was we had 20 years of movies just going, that fucking tribals type of stuff, So it's kind of just background music, It's kind of like EDM. It's like you don't even listen. It's just in the background, know. Anyway, Dana. Continue.
No, for final thoughts overall, even though I know I'm going to get stabbed, I still thought it was boring at parts. God bless the people who write the Wikipedia plot notes because I use that to figure out what was going on because half the time I'm like in and out of consciousness. But what I did see, like I said, it looked very good. It looked very pretty. It was very good adaptation towards the source material. The whole Zendaya situation I thought was marketing genius because we know how hot she's everywhere basically, and they used her essentially just to sell this movie, and she has like one line of dialogue, which was hilarious to me. So I thought overall they did a really great job with everything. It was just what they said half of the time was just boring.
By the way, I need to just say something real quick about Zendaya. I love that. And this happened in the book too, but it's just funnier seeing it, because she's like initially dismissed them, like, you're just a little boy, whatever. You're gonna die. I'll be sympathetic. Here's a knife, good luck, And then afterwards, she's like, let me find out. She gets real interested after that. Like, oh wait, you may be the Messiah after all. She became real interested then, when we know a lot of women like that too, they don't even pay you attention, but as soon as you do something noteworthy, then they come around like, all right, so no matter if it's like 20,000 years in the future, women never fucking change, so I found that very funny, but I do agree with you. It was pretty genius. Like, use the most visible cast member possible and get her out there, and she will have her up in the second one, Yeah, it
was kind of like the thing what they did. Remember with Scream, Drew Barrymore was really big at the time, and then they just killed her off in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
it's good marketing. Yeah, it's like you got this pretty girl everywhere. Sure, go for it.
Yeah, no, they did a good job, especially because here's the thing: Dune is not. It's hard to adapt that, and
very difficult.
You have to wait for technology and for the writing, and everything has to be in place. And for what they accomplished, they did a very good job. So I will give them that. I want to see the other sequels. When they come out, well, I hope they actually come out, because that's when things will actually start picking up. And as you guys did say previously, this felt like a prequel. This could easily have been. This could have been an email or essentially, basically, a comic book.
Email.
It's a long email.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow. It's a long email.
But I'm gonna say this though, Dana, real quick.
Like the emails that Rich sends you don't check out.
But then I'm gonna say this, so even though you didn't enjoy the movie, I like the fact that you're fair to it, because you're like, okay, I like, this is the best adaptation possible. I think we can all agree on that. No matter how you felt, like, I'm like, this shit is hard to adapt. This is really good for what it is,
We kind of grew up on adaptations and knew how horrible they were. Horrible. They were horrible. These were like you said, Sci-Fi Channel next to Sharknado. Horrible.
But this was before the Sharknado business got going. This was like when
this was the Sharknado of its time.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. This was what set off Battlestar Galactica and good side, but then we got Sharknado and everything got fucked up. But you're right about that. Adaptations. This movie could have been even worse than the fucking Lynch one if done wrong. So I even though I have my quibbles with it as well, I think it is as good as you're gonna get, and I'm glad they got Denny in there, because he, at least you could tell this guy understands the material. So he's like, okay, how do I present this in a visual, interesting way? And even all you guys here who never even like read the books, you were still able to understand the story, even if some of the terms were crazy and shit. it was very understandable because, like, again, if you try to watch that David Lynch, what the fuck is going on?
You don't
here?
understand what's going on. It's like a cat
Yeah.
randomly in there. It's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Awful.
Yeah, it's bad.
What I will
ahead, bro.
say, what I will say is, you know, like Dana brings up her points, and actually, you know, I don't disagree with any of them because they do make sense. And what I hope is that for the next movie that comes out, I hope that the movie can enhance the first one in that way. So it makes it seem, all this sand that we had to go through, all
I see what you did there. You know,
all of that, you know, the drawn out, you know, scenes and everything. I like, hopefully when you watch the second one, it can become worth it. I guess for people like me and Joey and Tony, I think it's already worth it right now.
Oh yeah.
But hopefully, you know, for people that are more hesitant and didn't enjoy it as much, hopefully, you know, as the series goes on, hopefully it gets it makes it more enjoyable when rewatching.
Yeah. By the way, I need to say this real quick because I forgot to say it. Another one of the things I liked in this movie over the book is, like, we actually saw the actual Harkonnen attack, and it was long. In the book, that doesn't happen. It's like Paul Atreides wakes up and he's fucking gagged.
It's a sentence in the book.
Like, like it was like, oh, by the way, like, yo, what happened? Like, oh, they just fucked the whole shit up, bro. Like literally, like they set up to it, and it's like they're missing a chapter of the actual attack. And I love the fact that this movie not only did it show it, but it went in, bro. Like when you saw those bombs, and I like because there's those kinetic shields, right? They established, like, you come in fast, you're not gonna get through. But if you come in nice and slow, you're good. You know. So I like how the bombs like, you know. So that was really dope. So
when they all had, the crazy thing is they all had shields.
All of them had them, yeah, because those shields are kind of just everywhere. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to with the next movie. Because again, there's another big action scene that the book just like, we're not going to show it. So I'm hoping we get to see it in the next movie. I'm pretty sure Denny will do it. And I love the action. Like I know it's like sparse, but when it happens, it's really visceral, even for a PG-13 movie. The movie didn't exactly need to be rated R because it's not that brutal of a story, but you know, a little bit of blood here and there would have been nice. Anyway, Joey, go ahead, bro.
Overall, you guys know my opinions. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna watch it again.
Yeah,
and I'm a live text Dana every scene as I'm going through it. No, but I like I was saying before, I was really nervous going in because I've been waiting a few years. But I really did enjoy it. The cast, I love. We didn't even talk about Josh Brolin, which is in this movie. And
he was good too.
Yeah,
he was good.
Man, he was good. He was real good.
Yeah. So
Joey, I'm gonna flip the script. I'm not gonna watch Dune tonight because I need to fill my Denis Villeneuve repertoire. So I gotta watch Arrival tonight. That's what I need to do. You know. Because I've never seen it. I'm not that much of a cinephile because I want to be where Carlos is at. Because Christopher Nolan, to me, he's the best modern director. I need to put this dude up there too. You know.
So watch Arrival and then watch Sicario.
Yeah.
Watch Sicario first.
Sicario is
but I'm sorry, but this is what this woman just said right here.
Yeah.
The issue is what I was expecting with Dune, where it's like if you're into writing, you will love Arrival. If you just want action, you watch Sicario.
Excuse me, Sicario had really great writing, great character development, great acting, and great cinematography.
I didn't say.
By the way,
Roger Deakins.
Throwdown just showed up right now, man.
I didn't say it didn't because all his movies, he has not made a bad movie, but
he has made boring movies.
To you
as well. The whole thing is opinion based.
I know it is. But I'm saying to me, I love his movies. But
and to me, Sicario is
that's why I gave you. That's why I told him to watch two movies, which is the two very different sides. And I think you'll get a good example after you watch both of them.
Sicario has action though, right? Just got
Sicario has action. It has drama. There's people with different side stories in terms of there's plot twists.
Yeah,
Arrival is sci-fi. Sicario is It's
Well,
a drug.
Arrival's right up my alley, so that's not. I've been meaning to watch it for a while, even before I kind of knew about this. I'm like, that seems pretty
Tony,
cool. Yeah, what's up?
From all this time I know you, you're gonna like Arrival a lot more.
Oh, of course, this is me, bro.
Sicario is a great. I prefer Sicario or Arrival, by the way.
Yeah.
I have one issue with Arrival, and it's a huge issue, but I still love the movie. And I guess we'll discuss that on another time. But Sicario is the reason why I think Sicario, Tony will like it less, is because it's more grounded.
Yeah.
It's more of a personal story. And I think Tony likes more, the sci-fi.
Yeah, I need that hook. Like basically, I need it to be fantasy or sci-fi. Like I need that hook in there. But I could appreciate a good action movie too. Hey, anyway, go on.
A personal story, but Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, and Sicario, he's great.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, you could throw Prisoners in there.
Prisoners is great also. Yeah.
But I think
the man has not made a bad movie.
If you make 3 top tier sci-fi movies, you're already a fucking god to me. That's why, like Christopher Nolan, when I saw it was Inception, I did it for him. Like, okay. This dude, even though he dropped the ball on Interstellar movie, I did not like that.
Oh,
but he
Joey, where's the knife?
Yeah, whoa. I don't know. And I Interstellar with here's the thing, because that movie is so the science is so correct. The science that is correct is so correct. When they fuck up that science, it takes me out of it. So it's not really a problem with that. Christopher Nolan. It's more like I have a personal beef when a sci-fi movie stops being a proper or hard sci-fi, because like Dune is a sci-fi movie, but it's like more fantasy sci-fi. Like when they fucked up, this is not Interstellar podcast, so I'll stop talking about it. But it's like when they get into the metaphysical shit, I'm like, I'm not trying to watch this, bro. That's why when I watch The Martian, I'm like, yes, this is what I want. Grounded sci-fi. Thank you. So I think he dropped the ball on that, but he redeemed himself fully with fucking Tenet. Tenet is fantastic, man. I love that movie. As a matter of fact, I was thinking to myself, I haven't seen a sci-fi movie as good as Dune in a while. I'm like, no, bro, you saw fucking Tenet last year, and that was the bomb, Thank you, Carlos, by the way, for hooking it up. You know what I'm saying?
You already know, man. Yo, man, Christopher.
Legally too. He gave me a code. We're good.
Oh yeah, I got a digital code when I bought the 4K Blu-ray set, and I got a digital code, and I'm like, I already got the Blu-ray, so you're gonna hook it up to Tony.
Yeah, but Denis Villeneuve, even these 2 movies that I've seen, I'm like, yo, bro, you got it, man. You got it.
Arrival. You're gonna love Arrival.
Yeah, Arrival is cool.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm like, I want to see a movie kind of like Contact, but just crazier, So I love Contact. Yes. Contact was great.
That's a great way to describe Arrival. What you just said.
Oh man,
look at Joey getting hyped.
Yeah. Wait, does no one like Sunshine? Because I thought Sunshine was great.
I didn't the same.
Huh? I haven't seen Sunshine.
Anyways, that's the fun about these podcasts. We go off on shit, So Joey, any other thoughts on? Because I kind of
I'm good. I'm actually gonna watch it too.
Yeah, there you go, Rich, man. Final thoughts on Dune, Part 1.
Final thoughts on Dune. I did think the movie was good. I do agree with some stuff that Chris said about the length. It kind of dragged on. For those that don't know, there is another show on HBO Max called Raised by Wolves. I think that show was okay, but I would have preferred this to actually be a show starting out as a show on HBO Max, which led into a theatrical movie, because I think that would have been a better way to introduce people into it, and then without investing too much into it and worrying about this movie being a success or a failure. But I thought it was good. I again will reiterate, you definitely should watch it in theaters, watch it on a 4K screen. But if you have to watch it on HBO Max, and maybe this is going to be controversial to say, I don't care. This is by far one of the better movies I've seen on HBO Max in terms of their Warner Brothers exclusive deal. Without a doubt.
I don't think that's controversial.
Yeah.
You said how much you love Space Jam, so.
No, I never
he
said
was
that.
all for the legacy.
Hey,
loved legacy.
I never said that, but I did hear Joey say he loved Mortal Kombat, so I guess that's a challenge.
I enjoyed Mortal Kombat. I love Mortal Kombat.
He like, don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Review the
All right.
tapes. Run back to the tape.
Rewind it, you know. All right, Chris.
Oh, yeah. My
Oh.
final thoughts. It is a good movie. It's just it suffered from just lengthy set pieces with nothing happening. There's just padding to just taking. It's like this guy wanted you to soak in the visuals. It's like, hey, we spent like $50 million carving out this city. You better look at it. Look at these palm trees. Look at all the sand. Do you like sand? We got more. There's more sand. And then the CG. It's like all that stuff was well done. There was nothing I looked at that was like, oh, that's weird. Oh, that's off. Everything was the attention to detail was great. But like I said, this was like walking slowly through an art gallery full of beautiful pictures, and it's like, but I'm watching a sci-fi movie, and it's kind of boring in parts. The pacing is off. The first act took too long to get started. Um, Whereas everything kind of ramped up to the middle to the Harkonnen invasion, and then slowed right down again until we get to the Freeman at the end. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe in the second movie, it just needs balanced pacing, and the runtime suffered for that. You know, that's my thoughts.
Chris mentioned something that triggered something for me.
Uh-oh.
Similar to
Uh-oh.
pineapple
Trigger.
pizza. You could say Chris is manipulating me with
Oh,
it.
I was
Really?
was I weirding? What was I?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
He's doing the words. When you mentioned the CG in this movie is amazing, man. The reason why it triggered me because I thought of this one thing that happened last week or this week was it's fucking random as hell. The Uncharted trailer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Carlos,
I'm
I
like-
already got something to say after you say this.
I'm like, you see the CG in that trailer alone, and you compare it to what we saw in Dune, and it's like we're in another freaking ballpark here. It's crazy. The CG is amazing. Every part of this movie, the way it was drawn out, but at least that shit was fucking beautiful. It was a world where it was immersive. In my opinion, it was immersive.
I gotta say this though about the CG. I'm like, Carlos, what CG? I didn't see any CG in this movie.
I said,
Like that's how good it looked.
Yeah.
Like it was just. And here's the funny thing, the Uncharted thing. And I talked about this on Twitter, right? I was like, that thing is guilty of every like CG faux pas that's been happening in the last 20 years, right? You got the washed out color grading, you got the camera angles that are like impossible, you got the crazy ass physics. None of that is in Dune. It's just the way CG used to be. It's like, hey, let's film this like we're actually filming something real instead of something fake. It wasn't The Hobbit or anything like that.
That's why I love.
No. I can't fuck up my flow right now. The special effects in this movie were like Lord of the Rings, and not like the fucking Hobbit. Like where it feels real and grounded. You feel that fucking sand. You know what I'm saying? Like it's real.
It got everywhere.
Yeah, it got everywhere, but like, when you watch it, you're not even thinking about the special effects. You see this giant ass sandworm, that's a fucking sandworm.
That shit
looks good.
Crazy.
And by the way, that thing was terrifying as fuck. Because what I like
just
about
a
the
maw
sandworm,
with teeth. Yeah.
but I like how it's like a force of nature. It's like, that thing's coming, you ain't stopping it. Like you just gotta run. Like you ain't stopping that shit. It was so good. But yeah, the effects are great. And again, like Carl said, contrast that with like Uncharted or a lot of the other CG that we see in a lot of films. And that's another thing that made it stand out. Just the way it looked. It didn't look fake. It looked real, so good, man. So fucking good. I don't even know who the special effects company is, but give them a shout out, man. Give them every award,
I'll give it that. Like, it's one of the few times where I get up and get closer to my TV because I was looking. I keep going back to the spice refiner scene.
Yeah.
When you see the shot, he framed it sort of like a helicopter lifting off, and you could see it. I was like I'm staring at it. I'm like, damn, you'd think that thing was real. I'm like, I know this isn't real, but that shot looks great. Like none of that shit is there, but it looks fantastic, And yeah, it's a shame. Like Carlos brought up Uncharted, and I'm sad.
Yeah,
I blame you, Chris, because that
I didn't bring up Uncharted. Yeah, that was
basura, man. That's
even when you
trash.
could go back 30 years and have I have a similar scene in a C-130 with people hanging out of it, and that was actually filmed up in the air in that James Bond movie. Go watch
Timothy Dalton one, yeah.
The Living Daylights. That's the movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
They
they
felt
have
that
that
same
in
shot.
there. The movie, they have the same thing. They have no
with
CG.
people, with
Yeah.
stuntmen, yes. Yeah.
Oh my
Hanging out
gosh.
of a plane.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, this movie, you didn't even notice the effects, and that's how you know effects are good. When you don't notice them, that's how you know effects are good. You know, it's great. All right, Carlos, man, close us out.
I was, as soon as I wasn't a Dune fan, or before I saw this movie.
You are
actually,
now.
yeah.
You know?
So, I was interested in the story, just hearing it all my life. I've heard of Dune. I just never actually read it or looked into it. When they announced that Denis Villeneuve was gonna direct this, I'm like, all right, no more questions asked. That's it. I'm in. Yeah, man, this movie is exactly what I expected, which is good. It's the characters, the story, the effects, the soundtrack, everything, the score, everything was on point. I feel I do agree that it was dragged out. I guess for me, the positive part about that is it just feels like when people are walking in the sand, it's like you just feel like you're kind of with them, in a way. It could be a good thing or a bad thing. But for me, it was definitely a positive. I'm really looking forward to. Oh, by the way, when the intro came out, Dune, the title card came out. I'm like, I wasn't expecting the part 1.
Yeah.
Was that announced beforehand?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Because they said like some people were appreciated that it's in there because it let them know like this movie's just gonna stop at one point,
Yes.
So I think that was smart. But at the same time, with the marketing, they're just calling it Dune, so that's a little bit weird. Because like, what are you gonna call the next one then?
Right.
Like
I guess part 2, because like Godfather, Godfather did that.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Dunes.
Godfather didn't say part 1; it's just the Godfather. Yeah.
It's gonna be Dunes with an S.
Dunes, or Dune you. That's an inside baseball you. This movie's I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next one. Denis is slated for this one. I believe it's in pre-production, so I guess they just need the green light from Warner Brothers after they get all them the box office numbers.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something else and I just forgot it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I really enjoyed this movie. Hopefully, the next one is just as good. I'm expecting it to be better, to be honest.
Yeah,
because we're done with, when you get into something like a story like this, the world building is important to make you care about not only the characters but the plot and everything surrounding it. Especially with the stuff with the Empire, it's like, kind of like, Star Wars. It's like the Empire, they gave you bits and tidbits of the first part of the Empire in the first movie. And it's like, you don't delve as deep as you do on the next ones and then the third one. So hopefully, we get more into that. And great movie.
Yeah. All right, man. I think that's going to do it for us. So does anybody have anything to plug before we head out? Dane, I'm going to go to you first. Do you have anything to plug besides Dune and all that? Unless it is Dune related, because I'm pretty sure
it is Dune related. We got some cast interviews slowly dropping because I have other interviews. So we have that lined up. We have a whole CW panel lined up with 4400. So that's science fiction based. So you like that. What happened with Rich?
Oh, no,
Richard's face.
I'm gonna have something to say about that later. I don't want to say it right now.
It is not a great series.
No, continue.
They redid it, and it's all black and it's sci-fi. But so we have Dune thing coming up. We have Roads to the Top coming up soon. Eventually, I know we're having the finale is dropping tonight. So with 4400, Nancy Drew is coming up. Anything that's related to Batwoman just dropped as well. And so we have a whole bunch of things just lining up. So if you like TVs and movies, yay.
My eyebrow went up about Batwoman after we heard those stories, but
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yep.
I was like,
Yeah.
That's exactly.
you said
Yeah.
Batwoman just dropped. I'm
This-
like, I heard that.
yeah, I
This
heard that too.
Oh.
this was conducted before the whole Ruby Rose situation. So yeah, that
Oh, man.
happened.
Yeah, Rich man, have anything to plug, sir?
Oh yeah. Well, we do have some Halloween related stuff coming to the website this week. Of course, getting ready for more major titles dropping very soon. So stay tuned. You might see some intergalactic type material on the website soon.
Yeah, we may be saving the stars, you know.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Joey, got anything to plug, man?
Just my Twitter _ Brooklyn Bear.
There you go. And yeah, Chris, where can people find you, man?
Well, you'll find us every Thursday and Sunday on Throwdown.
Yeah,
You already
yeah.
know, throw down, baby. You know,
Gotta have
Carlos.
some.
Yeah, I mean, you don't do the Walking Dead. You don't do this version of Walking Dead.
The nuke.
Yeah, the nuke.
I am not part of the fear version of I Am Negan podcast. Listening to some stuff that Rich says, I'm kind of glad because so the show has taken. Oh no, Adam liked it, right, Rich?
Just to clarify, you definitely should be glad that you are not on the World Beyond.
Oh, the World Beyond. It's the World Beyond. Okay,
Yeah,
that's the one.
That show is complete garbage, and I hope that they see this video. I hope they see this video because I've said it multiple times. I'm not a fan of the show. But continue. Yes, please.
Yeah, the fear. It's the fear of the Walking Dead. Okay, gotcha. So, but I Am Negan is they're doing the Fear of the Walking Dead, and you can catch them on the Koalition.com and on Spotify, and Koalition on YouTube. And if you want to hear my bad takes, wait for the mid season of the Walking Dead proper, which should come back in February, and which should be interesting.
It should be very interesting.
Indeed.
As for myself, you can find me on the Twitters, Romudeth, ROMUDTH, and you could also find me at Tom's Guy, where I review games and tech. Some games,
Whoa.
And you could also catch me watching more Dune, after I watch Arrival. But yeah, that's pretty much another great. We should probably keep going for another 45 minutes or we're as long as the movie, but we're not going to do that. We're half as long as Dune. Right now 146, we're half as long as Dune, so we're good. So yeah, I want to thank everybody for checking us out. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed doing it. A lot of fun. I don't know if there's any big movies that I care about coming out this year. Because I know Eternal's coming, but I don't give a fuck about that. It looks so stupid. But this was my most anticipated movie there, so I'm glad I got to discuss it with you guys. I woke up this morning like, I gotta talk about this movie right now, bro. This is crazy, So thank you guys for joining us on this Saturday or whenever you're listening to us. You know what I'm saying? So once again, I have been your host, Tony Polanco, and today I was joined by Dana Abercrombie, Richard Bailey Jr.
See you later, everybody.
Joey Polanco.
Have a good one.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
And Carlos Romero.
Peace out. My man.